Welcome back, everyone, to Tyson's Tennis Tips. A brand new year, a happy new year, and the Australian Open 2022 is around the corner. So today, Nils and I are bringing you our next podcast of the series where we discuss everything about the Aussie Open, kicking off on the 17th of January. Nils, tell us a little bit about your thoughts on the Australian Open.
Well, obviously a huge tournament. Obviously one of the 4 Grand Slams during the year, so a lot of points up for grabs. It is obviously the tournament right out the gate, beginning of the season. So a lot of players, we're going to see, what they've done in the offseason, if they've worked hard enough, if they're ready to go all the way. And it's just very exciting, beginning of the season, 50-week season, longest season in sports history. So we'll see how it goes. Big things to come.
Only one place to start today. Nils, we've been discussing it all day, and it is Novak Djokovic. The fiasco surrounding his visa, getting into Australia. Obviously, he's now been put into quarantine in an immigration quarantine hotel. I mean, it's getting pretty serious. The Prime Minister's come out and obviously, revoked his visa. Nils, what are your thoughts on this?
I've read a lot about this and I've heard a lot about it as well. And honestly, I think the way the Australian Prime Minister has done it, I think is very good, because he's basically saying that Djokovic is not an exception and we have to be careful because COVID is still there and there are a lot of dangers and you never know what could happen. I think obviously Djokovic and Djokovic's father have come out with some pretty outrageous statements, basically blaming the Australian Prime Minister, which is unfair because obviously he has a country to look after. And but on the other side, you have to think, if Djokovic doesn't take part, he has won it so many times. A lot of the people who are buying tickets are coming to see him. So it's a 50-50 debate. It's difficult. You can take both sides.
No, absolutely. And I think you look at what the Australian public have had to go through over the last, couple of years. I know a lot of, many countries have struggled, and people have had to make huge sacrifices, but they really have. They've been under, a really severe lockdown. And it just takes the mick, doesn't it? When Djokovic can just walk in and, he claims that he hasn't been vaccinated for whatever reason that is. There's a lot of speculation out there, but I say it's just, in my eyes, totally unfair on the Australian public. And I think the Prime Minister has done the right thing. Scott Morrison, he's done exactly what he needs to do, and I say it'll be a shame for the tournament. Obviously we'll miss Djokovic if he doesn't play, but I think there is no excuse, and I think the way to move on from this pandemic, in my opinion, is the vaccination. I think that's the way we're all going to be able to get back to the life that we want to live.
I completely agree on that. I couldn't agree more with you on that, Sam. You're absolutely right. There's no other way to do it, and he just has to respect the rules just like everybody else.
Absolutely. Well, we'll keep up to date. We'll follow this on the channel and see what happens. But moving on a bit now, Nils, and I suppose we have to talk about Emma Radacano. We mentioned her in one of our podcasts, or a couple of our podcasts in 2021. How do you think she's going to get on this month?
Well, last year was obviously fantastic for her. She got Sports Personality of the Year, which is unbelievable, which is a great ending for her season. I think now she's obviously getting thrown back in the mixer, back to reality, where, you've got a lot of women and men obviously competing for that trophy and competing for the season. So she's going to have to prove herself again, just like everybody else. Obviously, the end of her season last year wasn't as good as everybody expected it to be after the US Open, after that magical run. A lot of stuff, obviously, with her coach, hiring a new coach, and her father not being happy with Andrew Richardson and wanting to hire a WTA, obviously, approved coach. So I don't know. I think I really wish her the best, because she seems like somebody who's got, a proper head on her shoulders and who wants to find a hope to win. So we'll see how she goes. And all we can do is just wish her good luck and, hope she goes, hope she moves up like she did last year, which was amazing.
I think it's taken one match at a time. I mean, in New York, it was a fairy tale, excuse the pun, but it was really a fairy tale, wasn't it, for her? And you watched her, and it was just the momentum was with her. And I think for Radacano in Australia, she's going to obviously have to battle the elements. We know how the temperatures can soar in Australia. But yeah, we just look at her and we think, well, take it a match at a time. Hopefully she'll get a kind draw as well. We'll be coming on to some of the other female players playing at Melbourne Park, Niels, very, very soon. But we will see how she goes. You're going to give us a little prediction on Radacano?
I say Radacano is going to go to the 4th round and is going to lose in the 4th round. I think that already would be for her, that would be a very solid result, and that would be a way of showing that she's not here to play around and she's here to, obviously, move up the rankings. She's got the talent, she's got everything you need to be at the top of the game. So I say 4th round, round of 16 would already be a very unbelievable, good achievement for the beginning of the season, good start to the season. Yeah,
absolutely. I think, like I said, last 16 would be brilliant if she can get that. I know she's won, obviously, the last Grand Slam of 2021, but I think if she can get there, that would be fantastic. Talking of predictions, stay tuned, because next week Jaya will be back with myself and we'll be giving you our outright predictions on the men's and the women's side. Niels, in this podcast, will obviously be giving us some of his tips and predictions as we go through. So, talking about players who aren't there now, Niels, Dominic Thiem and Roger Federer. What did you make of that?
Both of them, their best surfaces. Thiem, his best surface being clay, obviously being unbelievably successful on it. He's still got some wrist problems, so he obviously wants to come back in the clay season, maybe prepare for Roland Garros, see what he can do there this year. He's obviously been very unlucky in the 2-3 finals he's been in there, fighting against Rafa Nadal and Djokovic. I think for him that is the right move, because the wrist is obviously everything in a tennis player's, body and capital. He needs that big time, especially his game is based on spin, and obviously for spin you need a big wrist action, which is important for him. For Federer, he is obviously 40 years old now. He has been in the game for over 20 years, so I think it's the right move for him to wait. Probably going to come back middle of the year. I think that makes sense for him. It makes sense to wait. The Australian heat, the court, it's very difficult, hard on the knees, hard on the back. Obviously, he's not 25, 24 anymore where he can just, do that all year long. He has to pick his tournaments. So I think both of them are making a very wise choice. And we hope to see them, middle of the season again, and looking forward to seeing them back on the court.
Yeah, we really do. And I say it opens up, what's going to be a sort of a fascinating tournament on both sides. And looking back on the women's side, we spoke about Radacano. No Serena Williams, no Pliskova. Again, two big players. And I say, hopefully, as I say, with Radacano being there, will that help her? We look at the draw, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, we'll see how it pans out. It's going to be very, very exciting. So we've spoken a little bit about the players that are out. What about the players that are in? Nadal back in Australia. Niels, how do you think he's going to get on?
I think, for me, in my eyes, there are 4, maybe 5 players that can really do some damage at the Australian Open. Obviously, Rafa Nadal, you can never count him out. Medvedev we are seeing again at the ATP Cup, he is just incredible. He just doesn't give up. Yeah. Obviously, Alexander Zverev fighting for his first Grand Slam, been in the final before, but obviously been a bit unlucky. I think, even though I'm not a big fan of him, I think Stefanos Tsitsipas can do some damage this year. He's shown us last year what a winning machine he is. And I'm going to put him in there because obviously I absolutely love him. Felix Auger-Aliassime, he's playing a great ATP Cup. I think those are the 5 players that can do some damage in that tournament, for the men's at least. And yeah, we'll see what they can do. But I think it's going to be an amazing tournament.
It really will be. Like you say, these young guns, we spoke about it quite a bit last year, but these young guns coming up, and we're really hoping that they're going to make an even bigger impression on us in 2022 and see if they can really hit the heights, which I'm sure that, they'll be able to hit, including that famous player you mentioned, Aliassime. We know how brilliant he was last year in 2021. So you mentioned Medvedev and Zverev, both up there as the favourites, and I think we look at those two, they're going to be really battling it out, with obviously Tsitsipas up there as well, Nadal being back. Moving back on then, flipping back to the women's side, we've got Barty and Osaka. They're the 2 main favourites that we've been talking about over the last few days. Can you see one of them having the edge over the other?
For me, obviously, we know that Osaka has been having some mental health problems, as we've seen last year. Big topic during the Olympics when, obviously, Osaka was saying that mental health problems are very, you get quite a lot of those with athletes at the level of Osaka, where they train non-stop every time. And I think maybe Barty's maybe just in a better state of mind altogether. So I would have to say Barty, just because as well her game is a lot more uncomfortable to play. Like if that was me, I would prefer playing Osaka, who's got a game where you need to have some rhythm. She's got the same shots every time, which can cause a lot of damage. But once you get in a rhythm, it's a lot easier to adjust to. Whereas Barty's got that unbelievable slice, which is so difficult to play against. She's got that lovely slice serve out wide. She's got a good drop shot. She's just got almost, I'd say, a man's game in terms of the fact she can literally do anything on the ball. Whereas Osaka's a lot more restricted in terms of the fact that she's just got a huge forehand and a massive backhand. Obviously, she's a great mover. We know her serve is so powerful, but I think she's maybe hasn't got as many options as Barty, which I think may be the difference between a tournament win and maybe just going to the semis of the final.
No, I think you're right, Neil. I was going to say it's going to be, obviously we just can't wait for it all to unfold, really, can we? It's going to be fantastic. And just on the schedule, the women's semi-finals both taking place on the second Thursday in the evening for the first time. That could be a late night. The late show potentially in Australia. And the schedule on the men's side, okay, taking place second Friday. So similar to how they do it at Wimbledon, both the men's semi-finals will be taking place on the same day, unlike before where they were split across two different days. So a tournament that kicks off what is going to be an exciting 2022 and also an exciting year on the channel ahead. We are going to be bringing you some more podcasts. Our predictions videos after the success of last year will be back, so stay tuned for that. They are coming up very, very soon. Niels, myself with Jaya will be back for some more podcast videos where we discuss everything about the Australian Open. We're hoping to bring you another video there. We also are going to keep our eye out on what happens with Novak Djokovic dominating the news headlines today in England, and we're going to just have to wait and see exactly how that unfolds. But for now, if you're new to our channel, give us a subscribe. That will really help us out. Hit that like button below and leave your comments if you'd like a shout out. That would be great. Niels, as always, thanks for being on the podcast. Looking forward to getting you involved again soon. For now, we'll call it there. Have a good evening and enjoy the Australian Open. Fingers crossed for Radacano. We'll see you soon.